This is Jerry Malo, a guy who built Nigeria's first supercar.
Nigeria have a lot of raw material and we keep exporting those raw materials and importing finished goods. Why can't we process them in here? Why can't we build values out of those raw materials?
He started off building agricultural machineries and evolved to building supercars at the age of 22.
I've been passionate about vehicles since early age. The inspiration becomes louder to see how solutions can be put around this, how vehicles could be designed for the African environment, and seeing how jobs could be created from those crafts.
In 2019, he revealed his first model called Benny Puru, and in the first 5 years, Jerry Malo worked on improvement to produce a second model, Benny Sternum, which turned out to be more impressive. The most interesting thing about Sternum is that it can store power that can light up a whole house. It also received the suspension system that can raise from the ground by 12 inches.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Simon Arome Films here again, and in today's video we're bringing you a very wonderful story. Today we are here with Mr. Jerry Malo, who is the CEO of Benny Autos. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you.
I've heard so much about you. It's nice to finally meet you.
You're welcome. It's nice to have you too.
Yeah, thank you. So what inspired Benny Autos?
It's basically just seeing that Nigeria have a lot of raw materials and we keep exporting those raw materials and importing finished goods. The question keeps popping up in my mind, why can't we process them in here? Why can't we build values out of those raw materials here? And adding to the fact that I've been passionate about vehicles since early age, the inspiration becomes louder to see how solutions can be put around this, how vehicles could be designed for the African environment, and seeing how jobs could be created from those crafts. I think that's it basically.
So how was your background like growing up? Were you somebody that loved cars, and how did you grow up?
Yes, I loved cars. I loved sound of vehicles. I loved to use my hands to build toys growing up. I grew up in a farming environment. My parents were farmers. We spent most of the hours of the day on the farm. So I basically had little or no time to practice anything around automobile. I just had to squeeze out the little time that I had from farm to have some free time for myself. I squeezed to see how I could save time from the farm. If I could finish a week's work in 3 days, so I could get the rest of the days to push around my passion around the vehicle industry. So growing up was hard. There was no access to finance, there was no access to internet, there was no research facilities around. It was basically just me and my dreams, me and my thoughts, and I kept pushing. Maybe as I went to school, that became better for me. I started to have access to educational materials. I started to meet people who were able to teach me what I didn't know. Also had access to internet, and that's where I started learning on my own and practicing a couple of things.
So what were you doing before Benny Automobile?
So after school, when I made up my mind that I wanted to go full-time into automotive design and production, the next thing that came to my mind was I didn't have the finance to do that. So I just looked around me and I looked for what challenge, what problems I could solve to raise finance. And I saw that the agricultural sector was left behind. The mechanization was still left behind. Being that I had my hands around agro equipment, I decided to go fully into it. So before automotive, I was producing agro machines, and part of the motivation was seeing how
agro machines, that's farm machines?
Yes, that's farm machineries. Seeing how I could produce machines that would help me reduce the hours I spend on farm. So for example, we had to thresh maize manually, tying them in sacks, beating them manually, and we could take 2 months threshing those maize. So I needed an equipment that would help me do that in 1 week, and I'll have a month plus to practice around the cars. So I was doing agro machines already, so I was building threshers and a couple of others. And I was having other farmers too requesting for it, but at that time I didn't see it as a business. I was just seeing it as just me doing what I like to do, what I'm having fun.
Hobby.
Yeah, it was just a hobby for me. So, but when I saw the need to raise finance, and also understood the need to solve problems to get that finance. So I fell back to it, and that's what I was doing before then, building agro machines. So I fell back to building agro machines, build a system around it, made it a proper business before the automotive aspect.
Your first model of vehicle, what year was it? What year did you produce that?
I think that was done in 2016.
16?
Yes, 16, 17. So in 2015 we put Benny Puri together. We designed the chassis, built the bodies out of fiber and a couple of other parts. But to us, we just did it for fun, we just did it for the knowledge, and we kept it in our workshop.
That was the first model. What did you call it?
Benny Puri.
That's the name of that vehicle?
Yeah, Benny is the company name, Puri was the model name, and Puri is just horse in my local dialect.
Horse?
Yes, which is translated to cars, to vehicles. So we just kept it in the workshop, and until a government official came visiting and saw it and brought it out to limelight, did a lot of publicity.
I think that was when I discovered you too, around that time. I think I saw it on channels.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it was brought out in 2019, but it has been there since 2016. So it was like 3 years after we made it that it came out to public.
How much did you take it to build that?
At that time, I think that was all our savings.
All your savings?
All the savings we saved to build that, and it was an average of 7-8 million.
Wow.
That we used to build that, and the whole idea was just a proof of concept. It was just to show that the needed facilities, this can be done. It's not super magic that these things are being built out there. That was just the whole idea, and I think we actually achieved that. It was just to let people know that it can be done if the will is there.
What of this model I just built? Can you talk about it?
Benny Sternum. Sternum.
This is Sternum?
Yes, we call it Sternum. Actually, people keep asking why the name Sternum. A lot of people said, why didn't we use our local names and all that? For me, growing up as a kid, my mom always wanted me to be a doctor. There was a lot of pressure for me to be a doctor.
I see there's the opposite profession here.
Exactly, and while I just wanted to be in the mechanical world, she wanted me to be a doctor. It was a big hitch for me. So this is just me telling her that I'm now a doctor, but for vehicles.
Vehicles, wow. A doctor, but now for vehicles.
Yeah, I think it's a similar story we have across so many young people. Their parents trying to enforce courses on them to study, trying to enforce occupations on them. So it was a difficult one, me standing my grounds and sticking to that. So it's just a message out to typical African moms to give their children the choice, the freedom to study what they want to do. And I personally feel you perform better in what you have interest in. A lot of people say sports car, where will you get the roads to drive them? So understanding the Nigerian roads, they've just seen that the vehicle can be adjusted. At lowest, you have about 3 inches ground clearance, which is just about this. When fully raised up, you have about 14 inches ground clearance, which is even higher than the average vehicles we have
in Nigeria. Yes, yeah, true.
And also looking at the power challenges around, as you drive the vehicle, it stores power. It saves power. It has inverter system accumulators that stores power. Once you get home, the absence of power, there's just an attachment that you connect power from the vehicle to power a typical house. Also seeing the plenty rainy seasons, just having inbuilt umbrella system, just some touches for the sunny weathers and rainy periods. Having a special design for the shock absorbers to absorb the potholes on our rough terrains. It has just one shock absorber in front and one shock absorber behind, just to give it room to translate the shocks from one tire, the right tire, to the left tire. So basically just observing the features, giving it the capability to perform very well off-road. That's it basically.
What are the challenges you faced so far, or what are the challenges you face and that you've been able to overcome some of them?
One of the major being finance. The second being no or poor access to equipment, to knowledge, to technical know-hows. There are little or no people you can learn from. Finance now, in the terms that it's not like you have vehicles that you are selling to make profit to redesign or build another one. But you have to use your savings. Sometimes you take loans to build a sample, and you're already servicing those loans without selling any product. So it becomes a challenge. And for research, the only go-to becomes the internet. When sometimes you have limited information there, and a couple of times you will have to learn the theoretical aspect and do the practical aspect a couple of times before you get it right, doing trial and errors. Having a dream of being a leader in an automotive industry has been difficult in that aspect, knowing that I can't be alone in the factory, working, doing every aspect of it.
By yourself?
Yeah, and I realized that you find university graduates, master's graduates around Nigeria here that have little or no knowledge on how to put these vehicles together. So I wanted to share the little I know with my team to prepare them for when we'll be ready for mass production. So I didn't want it to be that we can, to being we have done this. And again, raising investment, being that we're all young people, it was difficult to convince people the certain amounts we're looking for. So building the first model made it easier to pitch to investors. This is what we've been able to do, and if we have this and that, we'll be able to do that. Yeah, and you actually mentioned why sports cars.
Yeah, why sports cars?
And we didn't talk about it. So sports cars we consider to be one of the most difficult aspect of automotive production. It is where you have tight rules to abide by. You have limited space to work with. We feel we have the confidence that if we're able to walk around this podcast, building day to day becomes a lot easier. And as we are building up a team of people, if they're able to understand the principles, the tight regulations around sport cars, then building day-to-day cars becomes a lot easier. So here we have Benny Stanham, just still doing our scrutinization, still doing our testing, and working on the next better model already. The goal and the target is just to see how tractors can be made more affordable, having in mind that majority of farmers are small, medium and small scale farmers. So we just try to see that we have products that are quite affordable for them. And most of the farmers mix crop, if they're able to get this tractor, it will cover across different farm activities for them. So with this, you attach to the mini tractor to harvest rice. So this will harvest rice, and you still have the attachment for planting. And on this same machine, this attachment is for harvesting corn. So you can harvest maize with this. This
is for rice?
Yes, this is for rice.
This is for corn.
This is for corn.
You built all of this?
Yes, we built majority of the parts. There are some parts that we don't have access to producing now, so we rely on partners out there to get those parts, and then we assemble. But a good part of them we assemble. Of course, at the moment we don't build gearbox ourselves, we don't build the prime movers ourselves, but a couple of the implements we build ourselves.
Do you believe Nigerian made cars are the future?
I would rather say I believe Africa at large.
Africa?
Yeah, there's almost no natural resources not found on Africa. I think what Africa needs to work more on is the technological aspect, to be able to harness these raw materials to finish goods. And when you come to transportation at large, there's almost no components used in building those facilities or those vehicles that are not found in Africa. So if Africa will develop around the technological aspect, then yes, it will be the future, especially now that every country or Africa is trying to consume home built, trying to build the currency. Consuming what we produce only strengthen and encourage the economical activities around. So to a large extent, I would say yes, it is the future.
Is Benny as a company open to investors?
Yes, we are. We are very open. There's no company that will go far without investors. In the business world, it's quite difficult to achieve that. So yes, we are very much open. We are open to people who have patient funds and are willing to see us move together, grow and become giants. Being aware that manufacturing is quite a big tax, especially in Africa. we need those investors, we need those financial inputs to actually push it forward, and we're very open for profit sharing and a couple of others. Yeah.
What would be your advice to young entrepreneurs in Africa?
My advice would be, you can achieve anything if you want to. You can break bounds if you want to. It's right time we build values for ourselves by solving problems. It's right time we depend less on importations. So for every young one there that wants to make a difference, that wants to push his entrepreneurship produce, should be encouraged. You can achieve it. And people who do it are not any extraordinary from you. So my encouragement to them is, you can achieve anything you can dream. Yeah.
You can achieve anything you can dream. I think that would be my takeout from this video. So guys, if you've learned a lot from this video, please drop what you learned in the comment section, and also do well to reach out to Benny Autos. I'll drop their details on the screen and also in the description. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel and drop a thumbs up. Tell them to subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Yeah.
For people who bring out the good out of Africa, please do not hesitate to subscribe. Do not hesitate to push this forward. Good things need to be seen about Africa. Yeah, a lot of good things happening. Cheers.
Thank you so much, and peace. Bye.